Hello everyone, the 316 here with another Mcfarlane Toys DC Multiverse review. Decided to take a week off last week anyway. Got both Scarecrow and Batgirl here, pre-ordered on Amazon, I believe, $26.99. I missed when these were $20 each. Anyway, enough complaining about prices. Both of these are part of the DC Classics, as it does say that on the side here, as well as the back. If you're looking for either of these figures, here's the barcode, Scarecrow on the bottom, Batgirl on top. They look good in package, standard typical package. And then there's a preview of their art card. But let's go ahead and open them up. Alright, let's take a look at the accessories. Starting off with the stands. It does use the newer DC Studios logo. And for some reason, the one on my Batgirl here is very printed. Like, it's very opaque. It almost looks like it's overprinted. There's a bit of fading on it even. But yeah, Scarecrow's looks better, but into the pile they go. We got some cards here. Scarecrow's card I like. Batgirl's fine. And then on the back, we actually got a pretty decent read-up on both of these characters. But, most people know who both of these characters are that even have a vague knowledge of DC Comics. I mean, if there's a Spider-Man, there's a Spider-Woman. If there's Batman, there's a Batgirl. But anyway, cards go in the binder. I'm going to look at Batgirl first. I think she's the least interesting because she's almost complete reuse. She has a reused bat claw here that's mid-fire. I do like the blue color. I'm not sure it works for a grapple gun, though. Like, it's going to get dirty. There's going to be metal poking out of it at some point. For a comic book page, this is good. And if you want to recreate one of those, fine. And then she comes with a blue batarang. And I'll briefly show you that it can fit in her hand. She does have two trigger finger hands. So, yeah, there's the grapnel. Easy. And then you got the batarang, which I don't think fits as well. But you can stick it in there at whatever angle you want as long as it stays, but you get the idea. That's Batgirl. And then Scarecrow, he's more interesting to me. He comes with a scythe, or a sickle. Wait, no, scythe is like Grim Reaper. Sickle is, this is a sickle. This is a sickle. And it's painted well, too, and I think it's got a wash on it. It looks like it's got a wash, but they did a good job with this. And it comes with a skull. It's not a workable skull, like you can't put it on a character's head. Actually, it kind of fits her head shape, but it's nice to getting just an accessory that's not necessarily specific. Like, it's just a skull. Same thing with the sickle, but there's not too many characters I think that would be good with a sickle. I mean, other than Scarecrow, I just don't see anyone else really using it. But visually speaking, this Scarecrow is fantastic, but again, we're starting with Batgirl. I'm jumping the gun here. Like I said, Batgirl, almost complete reuse. I do like the colors they used here. The yellow, it's not quite highlighter, but it's very bright, it's very vibrant, and it really does stand out. And it is a good contrast against the shiny metallic blue. I just really like how they did the colors on this one. I think the colors they nailed. It looks great. I mean, obviously, they use the shiny material for the outside of this cape. Speaking of which, this is a really thick cape material. Like, obviously, it's two-ply. At least I'm pretty sure it's two-ply. Yeah, it looks to be two-ply. So you got a very thick cape. It's nice. It's sturdy. It's gonna hold its pose because it's got a wire too. Although posing her on the shelf is gonna be a bit of a pain because my shelf is overflowing, but. You can bend the wire like that, and it'll hold the cape pose. If I move my fingers, she's going to fall. So, the cape itself, great wingspan. This is the standard wingspan that I expect in Mcfarlane figures. It's basically like a half circle, because, it goes straight across, and then it curves. This one does that, and it looks great, and of course, it's wired. It is a bit thicker, though, so you might have some trouble with certain wire poses, but you get the idea. And then, if you really want to, I don't recommend doing this, but You can bend that a little bit forward over the shoulder. This is a more light-hearted looking Batgirl, you know, comic book classic. So I wouldn't do that unless you have like a, you know, a more brooding looking Batgirl. But yeah, this is mostly reuse. I'm not going to go over the articulation other than for the head sculpt, which let me readjust this so you can get a nice close look at that. This is a fantastic head sculpt. Like, this is just great. Like, I have nothing bad to say about this head sculpt. I like the black, you know, on the front there. It'd look weird if it was just all blue. But, you know, her red hair here, I believe it does have a bit of a dry brush. Might not, hard to tell, but articulation-wise, like, it actually moves decently. Like, you got some poses like that where it's gonna look a little weird. And I do worry that I heard like a sound, and I just did not like that. So, you know, if you go to articulate this figure, it is up there that it's connected, but there's also this little curl down here that you might have some trouble with. So, yeah, just be aware that you might bend the plastic. It's rubbery enough where I don't think it's gonna rip or tear, but I'm not liking the sound of it. But yeah, a decent amount of articulation in that head sculpt. Trying to get her to stand up without falling over. Moving that cape really did her in, I think. Can you stand? Good. Now the character, or rather the figure, I'm more excited for here is Scarecrow. I don't know if anything here is reused besides, you know, the usual stuff, but if this is all complete new sculpt, they did such a great job with this. Like, I don't know if Todd really likes Scarecrow, but hold on. Why is it not focusing? Come on, focus. Alright. I'll just hold him over here. They did such a great job with this figure. And it doesn't want to focus. Why you do that? Because when I get him close, he's fine. When I get him further away, it struggles. Anyway. The brown tones on here are just perfect. You even have like a kind of grossly, almost vomit color for his hands and feet. I do have some issue with posing his feet. They seem very stiff. I might take like a hairdryer or a hot water trick to it, but he doesn't seem to have any issues standing, and as soon as I say that, he does. I will say, though, this knee is bent inward a little bit. That does not want to move. You know, I would be careful with this figure just because they made a Clayface Big Fig in a 3-pack, and that one has a history of breaking, and that's the same brown plastic, I believe. This one looks a little bit more orange, but again, I'd be very careful. But, you know, I'm doing this for the review, but not a ton of articulation with that skirt waist. But, you know, you can... I don't think he's going to break. He feels sturdy enough, but just be careful. Always be careful. Use the hot water on your figures first. And speaking of detail, he's got 2 patches on his leg, yes, but he also has a wash all over the figure. It might be more difficult to see, but, you know, on the front here, you can kind of see it on this, like, X cross pattern here, as well as, like, his frills down here. There's some black paint, and unlike a lot of his other figures, it does continue onto the back here, and it even continues onto the hat there. You see that black there? That's painted. That's really good attention to detail, and... you know, I think this may be one of my top 5 favorite figures he's released this year. Like, genuinely. This is just an awesome representation of Scarecrow, and may even be the definitive one for some people. You know, the right mix of, you know, classic and goofy, if you ask me. But take a look at that head sculpt. That is, I love that head sculpt. Like, it looks like an actual person's head in like a Scarecrow mask. Like, it's just so well done. And, you know, he's got red eyes in there. It's kind of hard to make out, but those eyes are red in there, and they're creepy. But I love the stitching on the mouth too. I almost feel like this takes some inspiration from Arkham Knight. Great Scarecrow head design, if you ask me. Back to articulation though. Let's see. That's good. That's a little stiff. Oh, that did not sound good. The rotator cuff joints, Yeah, those are stiff. I ain't moving those any more than I need to. The upper joint seems to be good. It has that weird angle to it, but you could probably get it to work. And then there's barely back, but there is a little bit of forward. And then on the lower joint's good. And then you got up and down, not much, if any. Yeah, really not much articulation for Scarecrow in the torso. Arms wise, alright, good. 360 there, no complaints. And then he's got the double joint. Could touch his shoulder if the frills weren't in the way. And then speaking of the frills, barely gets in the way. Good. So, if this is any reuse in this figure, this is probably some of the best reuse he's ever done. The only figure that I think comes to mind is Infinite Frontier Scarecrow, but if that is reused from this, or other way around, if that is reuse into this figure, fantastic job. Fantastic job. I applaud thee. But let's go back to those accessories. His, holding hand here, he's actually touching his fingers together, but there is room where you can stick something through. It's not like glued or anything, and yeah, I was worried about that. The fingers are very stiff. So, and they're very pointy too, so you might cut yourself if you're not careful, but, he can't hold the sickle. It's just, he's going to be holding it like that for me. Oh, that did not sound good. Oh. Ugh. That's gross. And then, of course, you can have him hold the skull, too, if you really wanted to. I display him with both of these, but they don't want to seem to stay. Good. Yeah, see, it just falls right off. I might put it at his feet on my shelf, but I am running out of room. Yeah, that's good. But it's my favorite part of the review. Size comparison time, if I can get them to stand. Come on, Scarecrow, you were doing so well. Batgirl. Come on, Batgirl. Batgirl, come on. Alright, Scarecrow here. He stands a little bit taller. I'm going to do it from the front this time. At the top of his hat, he's 8 inches tall. At the top of his head, he's closer to 7 1/4. And then Batgirl is almost exactly 7 1/4 to the top of her ears. They look how I'd expect next to the usual suspects. Scarecrow is hella tall, though. He's like 8 inches tall. Crazy. He's taller than John Cena and Samoa Joe. Doo, 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 doo. It's getting real cramped here on my shelf, but I got Batgirl here next to some of her, friends. We got Stephanie Brown, Batgirl. We got Commissioner Gordon, of course. We got Nightfall Batman with the Year 2 Batman head sculpt on. I think they look really good next to each other, especially with the black highlighting on the cowl. Blue's a little off, but if you're looking for a blue that's closer, the Nightfall 2-pack Batman's probably the best bet for you, but they match pretty well. And then Scarecrow over here, he's a little bit taller than Stephanie Brown there. And then he looks great next to all the other rogues, looks great next to Two-Face, Riddler, Deadshot, Penguin, Bane, of course. But yeah, I think that if you're going to get either of these two figures, you got to get that Scarecrow. That Scarecrow is fantastic. And Batgirl has an exceptional head sculpt, but is almost all reused. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe, and hit the bell. It all helps out the channel. And as always, peace.